Culture for us is not just with employees but also with customers and partners. This is one big family, and the operative word is empathy. So if you really think hard about being in their shoes, you get to say thank yous and sorries and recover from failures, and true leadership is tested in tough times. In this case, true partnerships with our customers and partners are tested in the tough times. So we behave really well and we deliver on things that we promise we'll deliver. So I think that's what really is at the crux of this. And finally, it's the humaneness of the company, because we are a consumer grade enterprise company. We are not really an enterprise software company that basically is all about bits and bytes and just technology. It's also about delight, and it's about frictionless delivery, and those things matter to people. At the end of the day, we don't deal with professionals, we deal with people.
Okay. One feeling I had was that it was as if the audience, your customers, your partners and yourself were all swimming against a tide. You're united by swimming against this tide. And this tide, it seemed to me, was coming from VMware and Dell EMC. And is it necessary to have such a swimming against the tide approach to unify your partners and your customers and your employees as well? Because your employees were certainly happy to be in the hall this morning.
I mean, I don't look at Dell EMC VMware as the tide. I thought you were going to say public cloud, but you mentioned something else, which to me is a tactical thing. At the end of the day, VMware and us are two different companies, really. Even though 10,000 feet we look like we have similar products, it's the how that matters, not the what. And the how of our products is, as I said, about data, about design, and about delivery. I mean, think about it. The way we think about product integration, it's unique in the industry. Nobody else thinks about multi-product portfolio and frictionless integration of products the way we have started to think about them right now. VMware is not a real data company. At its core, it's a compute company that's getting the networks and security. The real data products come from EMC as opposed to from VMware itself. I think at a higher level, we'd like to work with their apps. We'd love for Horizon to work with H3, and so if you think of us, we are both platform company and an app company. And sometimes we float as an app on top of VMware, the platform. And sometimes we'd like for our platform to actually run their apps. That's the only way to survive and thrive and really do it right for the customers.
And what about VMware supporting Kubernetes? Isn't that a strange move for them?
Yeah, I mean, everybody is going to support Kubernetes. It's the new Linux in some sense. Kubernetes in the coming 5 years is going to be the new Linux. So you can't say I'm not going to support Linux. And you've got to look at it as a building block of next generation agile infrastructure. Really.
Yeah.
Okay. The public cloud, you embraced AWS. Would Azure be next?
That's what we have plans for. I think we're waiting for the seamless APIs for bare metal, because as you know, we really need to do this in a fully automated way, where we don't need to deal with all sorts of manual processes to really make this hybrid work. We want to be one-click delightful, and that means the APIs have to be awesome. So I think the work that we're doing with Azure will be about defining the APIs like the way AWS has done it, and then it'll look like any other public cloud bare metal service running Nutanix.
Okay. Invisible infrastructure. We have to be aware that we're either running in a Nutanix private cloud or we're running in a AWS public cloud tomorrow. and Azure public cloud. Could you see scope for having some kind of abstraction layer across those three, or broker?
Absolutely. And it's going to come down to these 3Ds I talked about, like an abstraction layer for data, an abstraction layer for design, which is control plane, and then an abstraction layer that really gives channel partners and system integrators the ability to really deliver services for the hybrid cloud itself. I think data, we talked about mobility and things that you can drag and drop from one cloud to another, replication. Remember, once the fabric is the same on both sides, we can do all the things that we were doing Nutanix to Nutanix in the past, like replication, like failover, like DR, and things like that. Backup and all that stuff works with data. Obviously, application drag and drop, which is the vMotion of the future, needs to work across multiple clouds as well. So I think those are the kind of things that need to be seamless. And we need to think hard about not just data and compute, but also networks and security and identity. Like, how do you teleport those things from one side to the other? So absolutely, I think there needs to be this abstraction that really makes things location agnostic. The cloud is the new server. How do you go deal with this with a new hypervisor is where the world is headed.
But making it location agnostic is killing a part of the business of the cloud providers, because they want to make money with keeping you in their cloud.
Well, it's their interest, but the customer's interest is different too. Customers want portability and flexibility. Customers want to take open source licenses. So there's a lot of interests here, and all we're providing is flexibility. As we say the word freedom, so we're providing the freedom.
I'm going to say HCI. Will HCI, do you think, eventually replace external SANs altogether, or will it push them into a corner case area?
I mean, if you take the example of this camera that you have, there's a need for it, but for 95% of the use cases, you probably use your camera app on your phone. And you used to carry a voice recorder maybe 3 to 5 years ago, but you're carrying probably a voice recorder on the phone or something. So many of these things that actually for 90-95% of the use cases are becoming pure software. And what we have done, and this is a very important point I want to make about HCI, we have both ends of the barbell figured out, the compute only node and the Nutanix volumes product, which is really a storage grid. So in some sense we have cheated by saying if you need a compute only node for licensing purposes of applications, or if you have a physical application that needs some Nutanix love, you can get it from a storage grid, which is Nutanix volumes. So in many ways, we look at it like the iOS that runs on iPod and iPhone and iPad, as opposed to only iPhone.
I wish you hadn't said that, because of course this thing is getting replaced by...
We were just having a big conversation about this versus that.
Yeah, meet Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's dead.
Nutanix exists now for 10 years. How would the industry have looked like if there wasn't any Nutanix? What have you changed in the industry? What was not changed by other vendors?
I think making enterprise infrastructure consumer grade, making it one-click delightful, I don't think anybody in the industry has come close to. When the cloud is fast, but the cloud is also getting complicated.
Yes.
Look at the AWS console, it's cluttered. It's not built for IT ops people. In fact, the delivery model is digital, but now we have to really say now cloud is a bunch of things. How do you make it into an experience, actually?
If you could restart your company, I don't think you have done, but you said, if I do it over, I do it different.
Would I do something different? Obviously we have a different context and a different world that we live in today, which has software-defined emphasis and a cloud emphasis. 10 years ago, cloud was still very early, and You still have to deliver an appliance because that's how the channel sold it, that's how the customers bought it. So it took us a whole decade to convince the industry that software-defined infrastructure can be an operating system software. And until we had gone through the appliance form factor, which was a mundane way of doing things. And if we hadn't embraced that mundane, we would not be a company that we are today.
About 10 years ago, SimpliVity came along and said, you only need one building block for the data center. Here it is our hardware accelerated building block. And that seems to be an outrageous approach at the time, but here we are today. And SimpliVity has been swallowed up by HPE and it's not fulfilled its promise. It seems to me there are only two companies fulfilling their promise of hyper-converged infrastructure. There's you, and that's Dell EMC VMware. Do you think there's a chance even for other companies to replicate what you've done or get to the same sort of status as you?
I think it's too late now, and I'll tell you what I mean by that.
Oof.
Like, it's too late for us to be another AWS. So we have to change the turf on AWS. We can't be another Azure or another AWS because that market for the next 10 years is well defined. So unless we change the turf, we can't succeed against big billion-dollar data centers. Similarly, unless somebody changes the turf on us, there's no point copying HCI. I think for Cisco and for some of the others to say, look, we have an HCI play, I would say it's too late.
Even if their installed base could take
I mean, look, go back in time to Bing, Microsoft Bing.
Yes.
Windows iPhone. Windows Phone, I call it Windows, that's a Freudian slip. Google, what is the social network? I forget the name now.
Oh, Circles?
No.
Was it
Google
Plus or something?
Google Plus, yes.
Yeah, but then they had Circles.
We forgot about Google Plus.
Well, it did not make it.
I mean, all these companies had massive install base in some way or the other. I mean, Facebook Home, the fact that you could actually start with a phone, Amazon Fire Phone, all these things. At the end of the day, you have to have immense focus and utmost integrity in what you build and understand your customer really well, actually, as the thing that really makes something successful. Brand alone doesn't guarantee anything. Which is the thing that people are asking us, like, you build a good brand in HCI, but there's no guarantee that you'll succeed in these other products that you're building. And I think it is a rite of passage. We have to be focused, high quality, understand the customer's needs, then bring it back and say, I think some of these things can succeed if you were honest about it, as opposed to bundle it, shelfware it. There's a lot of things that companies do to say that, look, we are getting into new products, but they're not really making money. They're cannibalizing the old business and just moving money to the new business, actually.
And what is to that extent your roadmap for the next 10 years?
I think it's around data design and delivery. I think we do data even better, and that includes getting deeper into IoT and the edge, but also getting way deeper into databases and message buses and things of that nature. There's a lot of good work that's been done, but message bus across hybrid cloud. How do you stretch a message bus across edge and the core? I think is a very, very challenging and I think a very fascinating thing to do for IoT use cases. Doing design even better, because I think we have a good design framework right now, but there's still piecemeal products. To really go and integrate them well, I think will test the overall character of Nutanix's design framework. And in terms of delivery, being able to deliver this in public cloud bare metal, in Xi, delivering Xi to service providers, making sure that they can host their own clouds. I think these are things that will keep us busy for the next 10 years.
An observation, whoever did the graphics for this conference and laid out the room and did the decor for the rooms has done an absolutely startling job. It was at Dell Technologies World in Las Vegas, and in comparison it's hackneyed old hat, bewildering and clumsy. This is beautiful.
This is what we stand for, Chris. It's not just this event. I mean, we talk about colors,
Yes.
like colors. And then the attention, one of those things looked a little, it had a bump, and I went and actually made it straight. I'm like, it cannot be like that, And that's how we build our products. That's how we take care of our customers. That's how we take care of our relationships, actually.
You had a say in this.
Well, I love the colors. Obviously, our marketing team is something that I get inspiration from as well.
Yeah.
But design is everything for us. It's one of our cultural principles. Design is everything.
This morning, someone came up with the idea that when you return from your work, you park your car in the garage, and then your car will register itself on Uber and start driving as an unmanned taxi vehicle. How realistic is that for the coming years? Technically, it's possible, for sure. But it also demands a mind change from the customers.
I was talking to Deepak Malhotra yesterday. He's one of our advisors, and he's a professor of negotiation at Harvard Business School. And he's been associated with the company for the last 6 years, and he was saying something really fascinating. It was like in Back to the Future, the movie, they didn't have a cell phone. Which is like, imagine like 25, 30 years ago, we didn't imagine this device that is ubiquitous, that's pervasive, that consumes our entire lives today. So many of the things that we think of today are very much possible, in fact more so than that, because of advances in technology. I mean, had 3G not come, iPhone wouldn't be here. But 3G arrived, and the rest is history, actually. And with 5G, imagine what we can actually do.
More bandwidth. Short range radios.
Are you interested in AI and machine learning and those sorts of things as applications that Nutanix could run and be involved in?
Yeah. In fact, there's 2 or 3 things I want to say about it. One is IoT. The one use case we have picked for IoT is machine vision, is computer vision, and image recognition. So one of our large customers last quarter, they are down the path of building cashierless restaurants on the lines of Amazon Go with our IoT technology. And there's a ton of use cases of machine vision at the edge, where you want to deploy the models for image recognition at the edge, but then train the models in the cloud and then redeploy them at the edge. So there's a huge lifecycle management, one-click delight that's required in this world as well. The only difference is that it's not web scale, it's planet scale. Because you could have because you're talking about tens of thousands of sites, and how do you really go deliver a distributed cloud, which is much smaller gateways, and upgrade it, patch it, secure it, refresh the models every 15 days.